Good afternoon. It is August 18th, 2012. This is Jason Horak talking about his electric vehicle. Specifically what we've got going on today is that we've had some developments and changes to the EV that I wanted to get documented and kind of show you all what's been going on. First off, we have the charger. This is the Manzanita PFC-40M charger that is currently out of the car. And the reason why it's out is because we've been having some trouble with it. Went out to charge last night, just kind of got home from driving around and doing some errands, and plugged in the charger, turned it on, and walked away like I always do. Came out the next morning and the battery pack hadn't been charged any. I was like, that's kind of weird. So I went and looked at the charger and everything looked normal. So I unplugged it, plugged it back in, and then I noticed that it wasn't passing any current on its little meter there in the front. It shows how much current is going through the charger into the battery pack, and it was showing 0. So yeah, anyway, so I started troubleshooting it, and I went through and checked all the connections. Everything was fine. So I ended up today pulling the charger completely out of the car and doing an independent test to see what was going on. So what we've got here is it's plugged into the 220 outlet using its own power cord that came with the charger. And then on this end we've got it plugged into one of the Anderson connectors. This is the just a standard little connector here, which will be very difficult for me to get with one hand. Let's try it with a foot. There we go. Alright, so this has positive and negative, and they're clearly marked, and then they have the same thing on the other end. Basically this connector is used fairly commonly for these kind of things, and got it all wired up and ready to go. So that is what connects the charger to the battery pack. At the moment, for testing purposes, I have it connected to one of these Metropolitan Industries 12-volt batteries. So anyway, just wanted to show you how I had it hooked up and then what it's doing. So basically, when we turn the charger on, we're going to have the amp knob. Cable in the way here. So this amp knob is how much current it's going to pass, and we've got it all the way over to the left, which is 0 amps, and that's kind of how you want to have it on when you're first hooking things up and testing and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and turn her on, and you see that we get a little flashing red warning light, and the limits light comes on, the timer light comes on, and then the limits light goes off. Now this is kind of what the charger would normally look like when things were working, except that we would be seeing a number of amps right here that would be showing how much the charger is putting into the pack, or battery in this case. So what we're going to do is just bring up the amp knob just slightly, and you can see that the warning light flashes on, limits turns on, and the timer kicks in. Now that's not surprising because the volts trim setting on this charger, which is done with this little tiny hole here and a special tool, is probably set to about 170 or about 180 volts actually for my battery pack at the moment. So it's not surprising that it would hit limit very quickly on a 12-volt battery. However, it's not passing any current at all, and it also doesn't seem to be working. This little red warning light that comes on is not normal, that I've never seen before today. And so you can turn it back down and it goes off, turn it back up just a little bit, warning light comes on, limits comes on. So I think the charger's got an issue inside of it. And I bought this back in, I think, December of 2009, or maybe it was early 2010, so it's out of warranty at this point. But I will be sending this back most likely to Manzanita Micro, and they're really good people out there. They should be able to take care of me and get it fixed up, and it'll hopefully just cost me the whatever part broke inside and the labor to fix it. So anyway, not a big deal, but just kind of wanted to go over what was going on with that guy. Just a quick review here also on the dip switch settings. So these little settings here control whether it uses the timer and when it cuts off the charge and all that good stuff. They are set to the standard values as recommended by the Manzanita manual. Here, and so they have dip switch 1 is set to on, 2 is off, 3 is on, 4 is on, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all off. So anyway, I did that, and that's how it's been running since I got it. And again, it's been working great right up until yesterday. Also, I used this little Vichy adjustment tool, which is basically just a plastic screwdriver, so it can't conduct anything, and that's what goes into that tiny little volts trim hole right there, which I can turn the thing and try to adjust it, but it doesn't seem to really do anything at this point with whatever weird limits problem and error is going on. So most likely something inside the charger broke, and the charger is preventing, it's detecting that there's a problem and just preventing any current flow in order to, for a safety reason. So anyway, that's what's going on with the charger. So in other news, I have my new tires and rims on the car, so that's pretty exciting. These are the Continental Pro Contact Eco Plus, which are they're much thinner tires than before, and they actually have tread on them, which is a big plus. No metal chunks hanging out, so that's a good thing. Also, the rims are greatly shined up, as you can see. This is just the aluminum alloy rims. They have nothing on them. We sanded them and drove the car. So I'll probably put some new finish or something on there just to give it a little protection, from picking up the road dirt and scuffs and stuff. But yeah, anyway, I think they look a lot nicer than they did before, and that's really all that matters. So yeah, so the charger was back here, and show you. So with the charger out of here, I have almost my whole trunk space back. Again, just the battery box taking up about 3 inches off of the bottom. So that's really not that much. And if I put a cover on this battery box, then I could have all my trunk space back, minus those 3 inches on the bottom. So anyway, so that's where the charger was, and we're not going very far without being able to charge at this point. But that's okay, because we have another problem that spontaneously happened just recently, and that is I believe I had a pack voltage leak to the chassis of the car. Which is kind of a potentially dangerous problem. It's not, I don't know, depending on how it's connected, you're not talking about a lot of amps, but you could get kind of a tingle if you were to touch a piece of the car and one of the terminals on the battery pack. And so what I'd like to show you is a little bit of my troubleshooting, trying to figure out what the heck could be causing this. Originally I suspected my shiny new Chennic DC-to-DC converter, which was making a horrible hissing sound. That has appeared to have stopped right around the same time as all this fun started. However, this is still working like a champ, and it is not the source of the frame leak, as I've discovered. So what I did was, on my high voltage system, you can see I have, this is where the battery comes in, just out of the battery pack positive, goes through the fuse and goes right there to pack positive. And this is the pack negative, which technically comes through this box and is connected to from the batteries through here to this for pack negative. So anyway, that's all I have hooked up at this point. I've disconnected all these other wires, which is like the charger wire and the heater, and actually even the other sensor wire for this, for the positive side. And so we're down to bare minimums, which is positive, negative coming out of the battery pack, positive, negative going to the controller. And so that's all we've got at this point. So I'm going to turn it on, put up the old maintenance disconnect, and then we'll take a look with our meter. I'm hoping it won't be too bright out here with the sunlight. That's not too bad. Okay. So, just for reference, our little 12-volt accessory battery, currently hooked up, 12.6 volts, which is about right considering it's mostly charged, but not really connected to anything. And then we're going to go for the pack. So again, pack positive and negative. So 176 volts. So the car's mostly charged. I only did a few errands yesterday before the charger stopped working, so we're still in pretty good shape there. But yeah, so that's 176 volts. So now is where things get interesting. If I put this probe here, touching the frame of the car, battery box, whatever, there's some nice aluminum here to touch, and then I touch the negative of the battery pack, you'll see we have 163 volts, which is interesting. Now technically that says a negative 163, which might give us an indication of what's going on, maybe just because I'm touching the negative side. And so I can also take it from the positive to metal, nothing. Okay, and so I don't know. I'm not sure what that's telling me exactly, other than okay, so there's nothing on the positive connected to the frame, but negative, we get 163 volts. So just for reference, if I power off, if I shut off the maintenance disconnect, and then I touch this, you'll see that we're at 0 volts. There's a little surface charge, which is why it shows a little above 0 to start with, but then that bleeds off down to nothing. So anyway, so there's 0. Turn on the pack. 162.9, 163. So there's definitely a frame leak going on here somewhere. And since it isn't any of my auxiliary systems, since I've disconnected all of them from here, all we've got left is the controller. And so that's what this cable goes directly to the battery leads on the Soliton, and that's what this one goes right to the battery leads. So what we're going to do, so again I shut it off so it's safe, touch safe anyway. And what we're going to do is actually unbolt the Soliton, the positive lead in this case. So there. Let's go. Alright, and then we'll pull this off. So, once again, we'll repeat our test. Right now we're at a little tricky with 2 leads while holding a camera, but we can do this. Okay, so we're showing 0 volts currently, and now we're going to turn it on. 175 volts, just like we expected. And now we'll go to our negative and our positive. We get no voltage. So that means clearly there is a leak of some kind going on into the battery, or into the through the Soliton. Now it could actually be the controller, or it could be maybe these cables going to the controller. So my next step is I'm going to actually pull those cables out and inspect them and make sure that the cables themselves are not the problem. And then after that, I'm going to have to pull the Soliton out. And so I guess we'll give that a test, and then I'll get back to you with some kind of results as to where that frame leak was coming from. And if it's something that's inside the Soliton, there's not a lot I can do about it other than send it back to Evnetics. Or I can try isolating the unit so it's not touching anything on the car. But if we do have a frame leak, or to the casing of the Soliton, it just doesn't seem like that's a good thing. It does work, by the way. I drove the car just fine with that leak in place, and everything seemed to be fine, and didn't even notice, and they wouldn't have even thought to look at this except for the charger stopped working. Which the charger wasn't actually grounded to the car. It was sitting on the there's like a wooden board back there as far as the frame of the charger, but maybe there was some kind of arcing that happened. Maybe it touched the battery box, I don't know. But still, something broke, and we got to get it fixed. So the electric vehicle conversion convention's coming right up in September, and I need to have this all working by then. So fun. Anyway, I'll get back to you as soon as I have some kind of results to report. Take care and have a nice day. Okay, this is just a follow-up to the video I shot earlier where I was trying to track down that frame leak. And as you can see, I pulled the Soliton out of the car, and it's kind of a very pretty unit. And this has been in this vehicle since last September 2011, and actually was installed by the CEO of Evnetics himself, Sebastian Bourgeois, at the Electric Vehicle Conversion Convention. Because the other one had broken, and Jack Rickard had this one on hand from Evnetics, and Sebastian kindly installed it for me when I was there at the convention. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, it's been working great, and in fact still works great. But I was suspecting that this might be the cause of my frame leak. So anyway, I pulled it all the way out, and I checked all the cables. As you can see, they're in this very rugged plastic pipe material, and basically it's not punctured in any way. It's not even like cut anywhere along the way. So the cable itself was not the problem. And I now have it rewired back up to the Soliton, but I do not have any of the power or other low voltage things wired in, nor the Ethernet cable data communications thing. So just to show you real quick where this came from, where it's normally mounted in the car is right in there, and you can kind of see the bracket, and we're going to go down underneath. You can see, so I built this custom bracket under here, roughly in front of where the radiator used to be, and the idea was that it could, it's kind of at a weird angle, so it does mount the Soliton upright and slightly canted forward, and that's because of the support structure for the front end of the car. That's just kind of how it was built. So I kind of went with that, and I'm not sure how much the Soliton likes being upside down and slightly canted forward, but it has worked perfectly for about a year, and without any issues. So down there you can see the positive and negative of the battery cables that just kind of go up in the battery cables, the motor cables, they go to the motor. The battery cables are up on top now, of course, because I got them all pulled off. And there's the underside of the car. Yay. Anyway, and the new tires. And then there's, of course, the new tires from down here. I'll get a little better shot of them. So those are the 195/60 R15 Continental Pro Contact Plus or Eco Plus tires. So anyway, they should definitely help with the rolling resistance and so forth. But anyway, so that's how we've got things set up now. I'll show you. Trying not to make everyone hurl with my shaky cam work here. But okay, so we've got this all hooked up, and we're on the meter. So we're showing 0 volts, and we'll turn it on, and make sure these are actually touching properly, because that's sort of important. 176.2. Now that it's gotten a little hotter, you'll notice that the voltage has come up just from the sun on the battery box. So, but anyway, 176. And then when we go to our frame ground here, we see that we're getting no voltage. Just to double check, try it again. No voltage. So what this tells us is that the cables and the Soliton, at least when it's laying flat, is not the problem. And again, we're going to take it from the negative to the case of the Soliton. And what we notice here is that there's a 1.7 volt leak, I guess, from the battery pack to the case of the Soliton. Now, I don't know if that's normal or not. Honestly, I never really tested for a leak coming off of the Soliton itself to itself, but yeah, you can see that's clearly a voltage. Again, it's only 1.7 volts, but I think that's kind of weird considering the Soliton is not plugged in, or it's not like turned on, and it's not hooked to anything. It seems like the contactors inside should be disengaged and we shouldn't get anything. But maybe that's just the capacitor inside being charged up or something. But the thing is, it's touching the case. So that's actually kind of weird. But anyway, I'm going to give this information to the guys at Evnetics and kind of run it by them and say, hey, is there something wrong here, or am I just hallucinating? And we'll see where that goes. Yeah, anyway, I will get back to everyone once I've got some kind of concrete information. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.